Good.
Okay, welcome to everybody. This is Chris Cady with Wall Street J, and we're having the Misfit Happy Hour on, what is it, April 4th. It's Wednesday, April 4th. The Fed just announced today that they are going to let the balance sheet roll off $100 billion a month, and the market's gone straight down for 2 days, and Jay and I are having a beer and talking about it. And so,
I'm actually having a coffee, which is my beer. You know,
okay.
that's good. You still drink? I take casually or yeah. How often? Like you have a beer every day after work to chill, or not even?
Not, my friends who are big time traders used to say you could, when the doctor asks you, do you drink? And they said that it was okay to say you could have one beer a day to the
Right.
doctor. And then the doctor started looking at me strange. And so I said, well, I have 3 beers a week. And he nodded his head and said, that's better. And
Yeah,
then so never
I
get your
stopped.
picture. Yeah, you stopped, right? That's smart.
I no, not by choice. I think I drank so like there was a period in my life, just going out. I wasn't like an alcoholic, locking myself in a closet drinking, but the party scene, I did it, I did it so much that I couldn't drink anymore. Like it was either I had to get highly intoxicated and that buzz didn't exist. So I would just get tired and sick and hungover for days. Um, and there was no in between, or I drank and it did nothing. So I just stopped because it took me more and more to recoup from drinking enough, and I just couldn't deal with it.
You get sick and tired of waking up sick and tired.
Oh, the hangovers are the worst. That's one thing I could never deal with. I needed a good solid 2 days to recharge batteries after a round of drinking out.
Yeah. Hey,
So
what's your regimen when the markets are volatile? Do you go to bed early?
nah, I don't sleep that much anymore, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
Once see again, it's two different lives. Once you're married with a kid, everything, back in the day, I have a rough day and I go out with the boys, you know what I mean? Relieve some stress.
They
Um,
they definitely did that. I had friends who would drink champagne after getting crushed,
yeah,
just
yeah.
to remind themselves, right, that it's not the end of the world.
So it gets harder once you have a family and all. But what happens, what I realize is you have enough of other distractions. You know what I mean? Where you look at the market and whatever went on that day is not the end of the world. Your mind is occupied with other shit. Majority of it nonsense, but other shit that the females in your household will put on your plate. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Did you watch the game, the basketball game, the final?
I did. I watched bits and pieces. I know I missed a crazy comeback there on behalf of Kansas, but I watched enough of it to have an idea of what went on. Why did you
No,
did you
I,
have
I
money
I
on the
was
game?
just curious what your thoughts were. And then on a different note,
Yeah.
what do you make the Yankees over the Red Sox, or are the Red Sox over the Yankees at the end of the season?
I
What?
think they're pretty close. I'm a Yankee fan. I think you know
Right.
that. I think they're close. I don't think the Yankees are good enough to win it all this year. You know what I mean? I'm a realistic Yankee fan. Like I'm not one of those homers that you know what I mean. Even when it's not cut out for them this year.
We used to trade the Yankees Red Sox spread. In other words, at the end of the season, the Yankees 6 over Red Sox or something like that.
Okay, as far as wait, do they have lines like that? I've never seen that.
Yeah, yeah. We used to, on the exchange, it used to trade violently because so many
Wow.
so many people were anti-Yankees fans, and the best way to represent an anti-Yankee position was to bet the Red Sox.
Yeah, of course, of course. That's big hatred there between us. You know what I mean? We
Any idea?
despise
What would you make the Yankees Red Sox spread, or the Red Sox over Yankees?
Ooh, that's. I'm telling you, I think it's close. I don't know what Vegas would make it, but I would make it tight. I don't know. I'd probably make the Yankees maybe small favorites, if anything. But honestly, I think it's almost like pick 'em, in my
Cool.
opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think Toronto is the team to beat in the division. You know what I mean? They're an exciting team to watch. And Tampa Bay is always, I don't know how, but figuring out a way to be around at the end of the year somehow. So I think that, the Yankees and Red Sox have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, apparently we can trade them in England, right? Apparently
Oh, they
there's
have
a,
that spread? I haven't
yeah,
seen anything like that. Maybe it's on like DraftKings and
yeah,
other. I gotta look around on that.
on the floor. And then
Wow.
the guys also used to say that betting baseball was the easiest thing to bet or the safest thing to bet because there was less random uh, outcomes because they had a longer season, 162 games versus football, which
It
was
it's true, but you know what gets you in baseball, which makes it really difficult. Unlike other sports where there's a point spread that makes the game even. You understand? So
yep.
if I'm playing you, I'm the better team. Vegas is going to adjust a point spread to make us even. You understand?
Hmm.
In baseball, there is no point spread and there's a money line. Okay. And a lot hinders on that pitcher. So basically, you're betting a pitcher when you bet a baseball game. And if there's one dominant pitcher over the other in the game, you got to lay minimum like 2-1 odds, even though it looks like a good bet, you're basically betting twice to win once on that game. You understand?
Yeah.
So think about over a course of a season, you can't just bet 2-1 favorites because, statistically, you're going to end up underwater. You know what I mean? You're not going to
Yeah.
win each and every time. So
But in
go
order to
ahead.
win baseball, in order to get through the playoffs and actually make it to the World Series and win the World Series, you have to have pitching.
Yes. Oh yeah, pitching's huge. Pitching is
Right.
the most important thing in baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and unlike it, you're not like in the NFL, you're not betting on the quarterback, right? The quarterback's important, but not everything. When it comes to gambling in baseball, the pitcher's almost everything, So yeah, I don't find it easy. I get my ass handed to me, but I guess I've heard that before. People think baseball is an easy game to bet on. I don't think there is an easy game to bet on. I can't like I get black and blues from betting on ball games. It's tough.
Yeah. Have you seen any setups in the market that you like?
Well, this is as interesting as a setup that I've been around in my career, and we could spend some time. But we've been talking about it a lot. One, you and I, the couple times I've been on here, have talked about just what's going on out there in the market and how a market's been holding up while you got Russia invading Ukraine, you got the Fed raising rates, not only raising rates, running off balance sheets. Like I could not put it this way. And we were talking about this with steam room members recently.
Yeah.
I cannot get bullish on my own looking at everything around me. I don't care the market's holding up better or anything. I just cannot see this market through a bullish lens, no matter what you throw at me. You know what I mean? There's a bearish rebuttal for any glimmer of hope I see in this market. But, and there's a big but, that in itself could be a bullish thing. You understand?
Yes.
All right. And we talk about that psychology all the time.
Right. Like it's so oversold, right? Like it's so oversold.
This market has had, like we said, every bearish thing thrown at it. Okay. Like who the Fed rigged the market to the upside. Now they're flat out telling us that they need to take equity prices down. This is the problem that we run into the last couple of days here. The market's rallied and the Fed saying, no. You can't rally on us. We got to tighten financial conditions. You understand? You're making us look bad. So we got to send out a Fed member yesterday. What's her face?
Ms. Brainard, Lyle Brainard.
Yeah. Ms. Brainard, who the biggest, right? One of the biggest doves on the board, right?
Yep.
Comes out and she just put together a sentence that when you hear come out of a dove's mouth, you instantly shit your pants, right? With the balance sheet.
Talk about, because on Monday they just bought them. Somebody bought them all day, right? We couldn't get a downtick on Monday. And then on Tuesday, they just run them right up to the highs again. And then she's like, oh no, sorry.
Yep.
And
that's
then you can't find a bid for 2 days.
Exactly. And if you think about it, right, this is what I find fascinating about this environment right now. We're so used to the Fed, that Fed put where anytime there was weakness, they would roll out a Fed member, talk up the markets, right? And,
Yep.
and there's your bid, and you
Yep.
get a squeeze.
Yep.
It's the complete opposite right now. Okay.
I know.
And
I know. I'm
it
tempted,
just,
right, to put a minus sign in front of the market, so it's like every down move looks like an up move, so I could trade it the way I'm used to looking at
is that crazy? That's
it, right?
hysterical.
Just like invert your chart and just put a minus sign.
That's so funny.
Right?
But yeah, so again, I've never been in a market anything like this. I mean, let's be honest, everything we see and are going to see from this point on in this market is something we could say we never seen before. Once
Right.
the Fed puts their hand in the cookie jar, that's it, right?
Yep.
It
Yep.
doesn't get normal by itself overnight. There's no,
Right.
oh, we're going to normalize shit. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to get craziness.
Right. They pump 9 trillion in, and then that has to get levered in order to get a return.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
What do you do? You pull it out? What do you?
yeah, no, I mean, the risk guys have got to be saying, at what level do we tighten up the margin rates, which means that they got to lighten up on the leverage, which means that they got to get flat or flatter, right? And so
Yeah.
you got to know they've got a huge passive long position in equities, because that's
I want your opinion. So I want to, because you've been in the game long enough too. And I wanted to ask you this. I find something really, really fishy about what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just my mind playing games on me as usual, because I'm always thinking of, not conspiracy theory, but there's always something clever going on behind the scenes, right?
Right.
Why does it seem unusual to you that the Fed is like purposely trying to talk down markets? I mean, almost overdoing it to a sense. Like, you can never picture Powell coming out until the recent pivot and saying some of the things he said. It's almost like he wants to create a liquidity crisis type thing. It almost comes across that way, right? Yeah. How do you have a Fed member who's a dove come out and say, oh, listen, I know I was dovish, but now not only do we got to run off the balance sheet, we got to accelerate the process. And what was the word? What was the exact word she said? I couldn't believe my ears.
Yeah, and Dudley this morning on both CNBC and Bloomberg was saying that they have to take him down.
Yeah, and aggressively. They're talking about being like aggressive now, right? They're not even talking about, because this was their approach prior each and every time. They would almost soften the market and tell them, listen, we got to drain the balance sheet, but we're going to do it in a way that's not going to stir markets. We know what we need to do. We're going to be transparent about it. They would almost soften the markets in their approach to tell them, listen, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. We're going to take it nice and easy, and we're going to do what we need to do. Now it's almost like they want to stress panic to where, listen, we got to do this shit. We got to do it quick. You know what I mean? And it just sounds so weird to me, almost like they're doing it on purpose to try to raise return.
Is it that they're calling the bluff on all the other levered, like, in a sense, like every other economy in the world is weaker than us, like we're the cleanest dirty shirt or whatever they always say, or the best horse in the glue factory, right? Like
best house in the neighborhood type thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we can maybe their strategy is like we can weather it, or they think our strategy is that we can weather it better than
right? Maybe that's what they're trying to do, shake out some of the other guys, right?
Right, because China's wicked levered.
Right.
Right.
I never thought of that. Maybe that's, you know what I mean? That's a legitimate.
Right.
That's a legitimate argument there, right?
Right. Like if we're playing poker and you're like, okay, well, I can take the hit as long as I put my enemy out of business.
Right. So, right. You take a smaller hit, but you're getting a lot of good out of, right? You're taking the bullet and you're getting a lot of good for it.
Right. And when we were in the ring and the small little local guy was bidding, he'd sell the top tick and it'd be bidding 2 ticks lower. And you're like, just, you'd hit him just to shut him up and get him out of the way so market could drop. Right. It's like, right. So it's like.
Yeah. And they do that all the time in the market. They do it in all sorts of gambling. Like you'll get a kick out of this. I'll give you a good example. In relation to the option market, flow, which I follow religiously, order flow in the options market.
No pun
it's
intended.
a known. What's that?
No pun intended.
Yeah. But it's a known thing. Like a big guy will throw out a big order sometimes to get everybody leaning to one side, tailing that action, only to play it bigger the other way. You understand?
Yep.
And get a better price.
Yep.
And in sports gambling,
Yep.
you got big shots who, let's say, Kansas playing North Carolina, right? They put some money on Kansas. People know it's sharp money coming in on Kansas, so everybody follows, moves the line on Kansas, and then they come with a shitload on the other side, right? And
Yep.
bet North Carolina plus. So it's done in all facets of gambling. So
Used to
you
be,
can't-
yeah, same in the ring. Like the big local would sell them, and put a bid to cover with a broker. So
right,
the rest of the ring didn't know that he had actually covered on a dip.
right.
Someone
Exactly.
says, hey, the Yankees are 5 under the Red Sox for the season.
Are they really 5 under?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I see value there. I definitely see value there. Okay,
cool.
I see value there. Again, I think the Red Sox are decent this year, but I think they're pretty even.
So where were we? Okay, so right. I mean, do you really believe the Fed? I mean, here they are. They're like they've pumped 9 trillion into the market, and they know everybody's levered, and they're like, oh no, we have to bring. We
Yeah,
need.
so something's wrong here. And here's the thing too, right? What's the market right now? What do we off our highs? What's the S&P off the highs?
10%.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you think like if the market believed them, wouldn't we be in an all-out tailspin right now? No.
I mean, yeah. I mean, here's a question for you. What institution do you believe in? I mean, what? I mean, as a more of a philosophical question, like literally, what? I mean, you can't believe in the media.
No.
You can't believe in what the Chinese government or any other government say per se. Like it's almost like where's an institution that you trust?
It's so true, right?
Right.
So
And
true. We're in that type of time right now.
right. And so if we don't, I mean, I don't have the answer to that, but I mean, essentially that's, if we're trading and we're trying to, the only thing you can trust is the price, I guess. Price and order flow, like you're looking at, right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, the order flow has been shit. It's been absolute shit. The order flow has been telling us that there's a ton of confusion out there. Players are gun shy, more importantly. Okay.
Market makers must be getting destroyed.
Now, I don't know. I think everybody's running around like a chicken without a head out there trying to figure like they feel like they have some conviction today, like you were saying, but that can change in 2 days, if not tomorrow.
Have you noticed the way like they spike them up to today's high and then they spend 3 minutes at the high? Like in the old days, they'd spend half a second there. Right?
What is that? You think it's machines? You think is that what's going on in programs that are
or is it just that it's like the players now, the small guy is gone and the big guys are just like, okay, we'll put it here for 3 minutes. And then I guess what it is that the buyers just run out of gas and then it just stalls and it doesn't matter where it is. So at the highs, like it spends like at a true definition of a high, think of it this way, right? So many people want to sell it. It moves away from there quickly.
Yep.
Right. And now it's just like it sits there. Like,
I know.
Or at the lows, right? It like today at the 60 level, it must obviously before the Fed minutes, but it just sat there. It just sat there
all day.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and so flow must be really difficult to read because all of a sudden you're just like,
yeah, it's just here in a nutshell. Here's how flow has been. Okay. And all year since the beginning of the year, commodity names, anything commodity related.
Right.
Has been annihilated on the call side. Like they can't get enough of those names all year on the bullish side. Okay.
Right.
So anything commodity related from zinc plays to ag plays to energy, they've been bombarding them. Okay. But you look at these charts, you could buy them here now. I can't, I know some people who can. I can't buy them up here now. You understand?
Talk to me about the transports.
Oh, what? And they were one of the strong suits of this market. They were holding up okay up until recently.
I mean, until 4 days ago.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's 1 week, something you could have some conviction in something, and the following week that conviction is gone. And not only that, it's on the convictions on the total opposite side of the trade.
Yep.
There's no in between anymore,
Right.
So
right.
It's a lot. Listen, it's crazy out there right now. And
It's crazy. I mean,
the
essentially,
liquidity's low. It's crazy.
right. We have nothing. We have no institution to believe in. The flow is completely psychotic, right? From the Monday of can't get a down tick to Tuesday, Wednesday, you can't get a plus tick until after the number.
Yeah.
And
And you know the other thing too, Chris, here's the other thing. Okay. I mentioned to you commodities, right? That's where all the
right,
bullish conviction bets are with time. Okay. So
right.
that's where they'll go out 6, 9 months a year, put a couple $1 million on a name and sit, right? Everything outside of commodities, from tech to banks to everything else, it's all in weeklies. They're trading weeklies. You understand? And you know, the big guys aren't trading weeklies 3 days left to expiration. These are traders just hedging and fooling around and playing. That's all the action and everything else. And it tells you that outside of commodities, they have no clue right now. They have no clue right now.
You know, we always say like, oh, when you're unsure, shorten your duration. And now I feel as though we should be like microsecond trading.
You're right. It gets shorter and shorter.
Shorter, right? Like I want to trade inside the high frequency zone.
But here's what you'll find this interesting. So here's what's changed from the last time we spoke. Okay. In where I can't feel bullish. Like I said, me, the way I'm wired, I feel bearish. Okay. There's a lot of uncertainty. I got to force myself to try to buy anything. I just don't see it right now. Okay. But I have to lean bullish here and try to buy stuff nice and easy, but with time, and be patient for one reason and one reason only. Okay. And you probably know when I explain to you what crowd I'm talking about here. Okay. You know, in the futures market, you got dealers, hedgers, right? Commercial hedgers.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big follower of that, of positioning in the futures market. Okay. I like to see when the little guy's at an extreme and when the hedgers are on the opposite side of that extreme. Okay. It's usually an extremely bullish signal, or bearish if it's on the opposite side. Okay. So now you have, for the first time since the COVID lows, first time, okay, commercial hedgers, their job is to hedge positions, correct? In the futures market. That's what they're supposed to do. They hedge positions, have removed all their hedges. They had a monster hedge on, where they were actually net short combined index futures. The biggest hedge they've ever had. Okay. And they've had it now since the summer of last year, and it's been growing and growing and growing. Okay.
Okay.
For the first time, they removed all their hedges and are actually net long index futures.
Well, think of it this way, right? A prudent short, the hedgers were prudent shorts,
Right.
right? A prudent short would cover when things get oversold. And so we would both assume that after these last 2 days, they're oversold.
So it makes sense to you, right? If you hearing that, it makes sense, even though with all the noise, as bearish as it is, see, and that's probably experience too, you see the logic in them doing that, right?
Well, right. I mean, because okay, so we've arrived at an oversold position here in the markets, and you're a commercial hedger and you're short size, right? So for the trade to continue to work, you're going to start to delve into crash scenario.
Correct. Exactly.
Right.
That's right. That's what it is, right? If
So,
you're betting on further down, so you're betting on crash.
Right. You're betting, right. So a prudent short in an oversold condition covers.
Right. And they've covered it all. And not only that,
now they're long, right?
Right. They're naked long. Okay.
Right.
And interestingly enough, the small retail crowd, what do you think they are? Short out the eyeballs.
No, are they?
Yeah.
No way.
I swear.
Oh God.
You know?
Oh God.
That's the only reason right now. I'm being dead straight with you, Katie. The only reason right now that I need to force myself to be bullish here. And what I'm starting to do, because the order flow sucked, I don't know what individual names or sectors are going to perform well out of this. I don't have the slightest clue. So all I've been doing, nice and easy, but I built up a normal size position right now currently, and I'm looking to add, obviously. I've started with the S&P 500 going out to the summer. Now I'm shooting for the end of the summer, so I have some time, and maybe I'll roll from there. And I'm building long exposure. That's what I'm doing,
Right.
and if the flow improves, I can add and adjust accordingly, right? There, my conviction will go higher. But
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, the VIX didn't take out the recent highs on this most recent 2-day drop,
No, not even
right?
close.
I
No.
mean, that's kind of a bullish
Yeah.
non-confirmation, right, of this drop. And then,
every drop, like you said, like to the normal player out there, every drop is going to feel like, here we go again, right? Because of what we went through prior to this. Every drop from this point, a couple of days we go lower, is going to feel like, here we go. We're going to test lows, break lows. And like you said, a lot of times, unless it's a credit issue or liquidity issue, something that's uncontrollable,
right,
right? And like you said, a crash.
right, a collateral chain issue, a margin
Right,
issue,
exactly. And
right?
those don't come around too often, right? You always think they're going to come around, but you can count on one hand over the past 20 years, right?
What if the Fed jawboning is their only way of cooling inflation?
I swear to God, my buddy said that to me. It makes a lot of sense, right?
Right, almost like we call the bluff on the Fed by being long.
Yeah, that's exactly what he thinks here. Exactly what he thinks here.
Really?
That
Yeah.
they're just talking the tightening process, because they
Mhm.
realistically can't do what they're saying they're going to do. It's
Right.
impossible, right?
Right. Yeah, they can't create a shortened, they can't create an increased margin rate or a shortened collateral chain where the system falls apart.
I mean,
And then
they got to have that in mind. Powell's not dumb,
no,
right? Especially after late 2018.
and
He knows better.
yeah, and they're taking heat because here come the midterms.
Right. That's the other thing politically. You're right.
Right. And so, oh my God, it's like you're staring down the barrel of a gun. You're like, what is it? Clint Eastwood goes, feeling lucky, punk? You're like buying him in the face of like, oh, 10% inflation, we got a hike. And you're saying, no, we're going to have like Weimar Germany and stocks are going to melt up.
What? See what I mean? See what I mean? Now you're getting me giddy here, and I'm going to end up taking the needle tomorrow. I'm going nuts. But yeah, nobody, I think that's something that people aren't talking about enough too, about the inflation side, right? Because I really don't know. Like, I don't know if inflation is going to come in. I don't know if it gets out. I had no clue. I'm not going to pretend I know. But what people aren't really talking about enough is that if you do get inflation run away from the Fed, equities aren't bearish. You know what I mean?
But the dollar is the key to that, right? The dollar
has to roll over, right?
Right. Yeah. The dollar rolls over, and then you see the Fed won't have the stomach to raise rates, and then you got to be long.
Right. And then
but then who knows from there, right?
Yeah,
like,
then you're talking about game over when it's all said and done from
done,
that,
right? Yeah. It's like Mr.
Make
Musk
your money and get the hell out.
yeah, fly us to Mars.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting times, man. You know what I mean? It's interesting times.
What is that? That's a Chinese proverb.
What's that?
The Chinese proverb.
What is it?
Everyone's like, may you live in interesting times. I mean, people always have been, what about all the people who are long metals and they go nowhere?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, everybody is positioned on the inflation side, I think, right? In the commodities and the metals and all that stuff. I mean, people are pretty long that stuff. But how long are they? These things have been so out of favor for so long. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's some crowding in them on a tactical basis. But, institutions, funds, they weren't buying these commodity names. They had no interest in it. We were in a deflationary spiral, right? The last thing
it was viewed as bullish.
Right.
In the Kondratiev sense, right? Like the idea of early deflation is good. And it's right. It's like it increases profit margins.
Yeah.
Hey, have you heard this like Joni years ago? Joni McCullough, she wrote for Longford Associates, super solid, excuse me. But she would always say prices have to meet wages or wages have to meet prices. Have you heard
Prices,
that?
have to meet- no, I never heard that. Prices
Yeah,
have to meet wages, or wages have to meet
meet
prices.
prices. She's like, it's the law of nature. It's like the at first economic law of nature. Prices have to meet wages or wages have to meet prices. So that if you see wages not going, which they're not, that means that prices have to come down,
Right.
right? Was
Jeez.
that the, I don't know how it plays out, but that's just something, it's like such a simple little thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Wages have to meet prices or prices have to meet wages. Joan McCullough, she's long since retired, but she was brutal. She
I
also
never
said
heard that.
when the Fed started buying stuff, she said that when they have to unwind this, it was going to
Yeah.
make the most seasoned pro white with fear
Oh, yeah.
when they
Oh, yeah.
got when they got to
We,
unwind this.
we all knew that, right? We all expected that. We were kind of kicking the can down the road and not paying attention to it. But I don't, how do you unwind this? You know what I mean? It doesn't,
Right.
like,
You can't unwind it,
you can't.
right?
Like you said,
Like,
they're talking about doing it. They haven't done shit yet. They raised a quarter,
right.
right?
And Powell, there's a quote that Powell, I just pasted on my Twitter feed from a couple of years ago. He said, I don't care about the amount of money in the system. I only care about the price of money in the system.
Right.
I was like, woo.
Yep. Yep.
So, but
Yeah.
the problem is, right, when we see the market trading, it's like there's so much money that it can't, it has to get out. Like there's no bid or there's no offer. Like, do you see that, right? Like all of a
Now,
sudden,
I see just I look at these charts, these liquidity charts. It's showing the liquidity in the markets.
right?
They're abysmal, abysmal. Like you're talking about awful liquidity right now, awful.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
top of
saying.
deck, right? The top of deck, there's nothing there.
Nothing there. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and you think like Powell's not paying attention to this stuff, and at the same time he's going to come out and jawbone in a hawkish way and try to create a debacle. It doesn't make logical
No
sense.
sense, right? No,
You
he's a
know?
venture capital guy. He's not a trader. He doesn't understand exit strategies, right? Venture capital just always went to the market if they could and just
Right.
go IPO, right? Like as a trader, we're like, okay, well, I can get in. It's like a Roach Motel, right? You get in, but you can't get
Yep.
out,
You can't get out. You
right?
can't.
It's like
And
venture.
that's why
He's
I get like flashbacks of late 2018. And like the only thing that made me feel better about the situation was that at the time Mnuchin was running the show there. Remember, Trump had Mnuchin run the show where he called the banks. Remember around the holidays, he made the phone calls to the banks to make sure they had the liquidity and they were going to be okay. And Mnuchin's a Goldman guy. He knows the game better than anybody out there. So like without him around, if it was this administration, like I don't even know who's in Mnuchin's spot right now. Who would it be?
I
Do you know?
mean, Janet's,
Is it
I mean,
Janet? Oh,
yeah,
maybe it's Janet. So she knows the game. But
nice
you know what
girl
I'm saying?
from
Like,
Brooklyn.
but Powell, like Powell tried to test the markets, like you said, not being a trader, not knowing, what kind of impact that would have, where there was no exit at a time during the holidays, where liquidity was a disaster.
Right, all the hedge fund books had closed their books for this end
Everybody
of the
went,
year.
they're sipping eggnog. Nobody knows what's going on, and this guy's talking about the balance sheet being on autopilot. You know what I mean? Those famous words. That was it.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
it.
he almost got fired, I imagine,
Yeah.
in the back
So
room for that.
with that experience, do you like? Can you again logically see him taking a similar route here now?
No, they smash. Well, here's what they do, right? They smash the price of crude, right? That takes, some of the heat off of
Yeah,
Biden as gas prices come down,
yeah. That's where it's got to start, right?
right?
That's one of the first things that's got to happen.
Right, you get sentiment super negative here, like you are right now. Someone on the chat asked if we were oversold, and from a internals perspective and from the transports perspective, we're wicked oversold.
Yeah, definitely on a short-term basis, without a doubt, we're always
Right,
open.
we're wicked oversold. So, I mean, I guess if you're looking for some stability, first you start to smash the price of crude. Food, they can grow,
Yep.
right? So it's not like there's a problem with having to mine or pump more food. right? That can be kind of dealt with, I
Yeah.
assume, right? As long as prices come down, then you don't have the Arab Spring riots happen again.
Yeah.
And then, um, and if you get, if you get enough negative sentiment, like you say, like the retail guys are short and the Fed is jawboning, that's the wall of worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the answer. I'm with you, but I'm saying, right, like you can see they're working, right? They're trying to knock the price of crude. It's come down a
Yeah.
bunch,
Yeah. Yeah. Very quietly too, right? Very
right?
quietly.
But
It has come down. It's settled
you know,
down.
why are the, what are the transports saying? Transports are saying that the overall transactional velocity of shipping is going to come lower.
Recession. Recession. That's
Oh, is
what
that
they're
what it is? Okay.
Yeah, I think anyway. That's my take on it.
You,
That
you
the
know,
Fed is going to slow things down too much.
but the curve's inverted with a quarter percent,
Right.
a quarter percent Fed funds rate, and the curve is inverted, right? So, and typically,
Psychotic. I swear to God, it's
so
psychotic.
I believe it's 3.5% is the average. 3.5% is the average rate reduction when the curve inverts
Okay.
by the Fed to once again, because it's signaling a recession, and then the Fed
Right.
has to reduce rates, and so historically that number, excuse me, is 3.5%. But currently Fed funds is a quarter.
A quarter.
A quarter.
Yeah. I really, honestly, it's
Someone, Brock in the chat is so funny. He's like, did you see that thing on Bloomberg about having to eat lentils?
no, no.
Oh, this professor at the new school came out and said, for people who are struggling with higher prices, you should, you should eat lentils.
Oh, somebody I follow, some guy I follow, McElliott, titled one of his write-ups "Eating Lentils." I was wondering what the hell he was talking about. That's what he meant.
That's
That's
what
where he
he,
got it from. Yeah.
yeah, as though it was a
I didn't even
substitute for
realize that.
protein. And someone was just talking about eating bugs in the chat that went by, and it was just like, anyway, yeah. So I mean, they can't go negative, right? They're not going to go negative. They can't.
No,
So if they
no,
can't go
no.
negative and the curve's inverted, think about it, right? Like people are more willing to buy 30-year debt than 2-year debt, right?
Yeah.
They're
What,
willing
so
to get less return on a 30-year piece of paper
how
than
does
on
that
a,
make any sense?
right?
How does that
That's
make any sense at all? I don't understand.
right. That's where the market is. They're saying that, or I guess you could make the argument that the amount of debt in the system it's like a governor on a motor,
Okay.
right? In other words, the motor can only run so hot, or the cost of the debt becomes so great that it slows the motor.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the idea is that given the debt service costs at a 4 or 5% GDP would be enough to slow the economy.
Yep.
So people are betting, like, okay, in other words, this debt is, the best we're going to get is 3% GDP for our foreseeable future, is essentially the bet.
That's what it's telling us.
Yeah, I mean, or just, you understand, right? Like debt is
Yeah.
a
Yeah. I know what you're
is
saying.
debt is a
Exactly.
future tax against growth, right? Like
Yep.
if you borrow $100 from me, and then you make money on it, but instead of taking the 100, instead of just having $100 and investing it in the future, you have to pay the $100 back to me, right? So the idea is that the debt service the debt that we've created is a tax on future growth.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it serves as a governor because the cost will not allow the economy. It's a self-limiting effect because the economy can't grow that fast because of the debt service
Because of
costs,
that. Yep.
right? So
Yep.
maybe that's the argument for people buying the long end,
Yeah. I guess so. I
right? And
guess
then
so.
and the only place the Fed can affect it to put up, quarter, whatever, right? They want a quarter, but maybe that's their only ammunition in regards to, politically speaking, trying to lower the costs.
And the bond market for a while has been signaling that the Fed, the end result is going to be the Fed slowing too much, right? I mean, that's basically been the story out of the bond market for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a bond. I mean, bond people are smart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They say it's the smart money out. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah,
smart money out there.
yeah, they're super smart,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of them at dead shows, actually. You
Oh,
know,
really?
yeah, they're all deadhead. I just scratch my head. The bond traders are all deadheads. In fact, when Jerry died, the bonds stayed in a 3-tick range for 3 days.
Really?
Three ticks.
3 ticks, huh?
3 ticks. Like, isn't that amazing?
That's crazy.
All right. So, I mean, what do we tell all the people watching? Like, what do you do? I mean, you can nibble, right? You got to have a stop. You have a stop or no? I think you just buy them right.
Well, right now with what I'm doing now, I'm risking the premium. So whatever I'm putting into, I'm just calls now. I don't have any equity or ETF exposure, just calls.
Right.
And like I said, I'm shooting for mid to late summer strikes. And basically my stop loss is my premium. Whatever I'm putting in is what I'm willing to risk without any stop loss, no stress, no anything. Now, when and if I do add beyond that, right, then I will be implementing stop losses and et cetera. You know what I mean?
Sure. Right.
But initially, take the stress out of the equation. I think that's the beauty of the option market. You know, a lot of times we spoke about this, greed gets the best of you because you want to put more in to make more. We're always concerned with how much we're going to make right off the bat, right? Where you should be worried about what you can lose, your risk. That should be worry number one at all times. So I like to take the approach that with the first round of buying I do, it's less stress on my behalf too. I'm not concerned with the money I'm going to make. I know what I'm going to risk and I have that exposure. And then as my conviction builds, I can add from there and be more disciplined. You know what I mean?
Isn't it a cool feeling? Like, you need the position. Like, that's the way I'm trading lately, is I know I need the position. I know I need the exposure. I may be early, and then I may actually have to pay for some time in regards to that.
Exactly. And that's why, removing the stop loss it helps, because if you are early, you get, there's a lot of stress that comes with it, right? A lot of stress.
We are always early.
Always. A lot of times when you're buying in this type of environment, when you're right, you're early. Otherwise, you're late. You know what I mean? There's no in between.
Yeah.
If you're going to catch the move and you're going to have a winning ticket, you got to be early. Otherwise, you're going to be late, and you got to be a lot more disciplined at that point. But that's what I'm doing. I'm also trading around it, more actively. So, like you mentioned, we have a lot of like short-term tactical sentiment signals that are flashing bullish now off, like you mentioned.
Gotta be. We're so oversold.
Like I'm going to be looking to catch a squeeze, which I'll take off the table if I do get the squeeze. See that core position I'm building, I'm not looking, that's not a trade for me. You understand? I'm not looking, like we were talking about the last time I was on here. If we do rip, I'm not taking that. You understand? I'm not taking that off the table. I'm going to try to sit, be patient. And when I trade tactically around it is where I'll lock them in and be tighter, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I
mean, that's my approach.
I mean, obviously we have to adjust our parameters, because it seems like the bid ask is at least 2%, or at least 100.
Yeah, you have to now. You have to. Yeah, you can't.
Like, so if we're we're essentially buying them on the bid here.
Yep. Yeah, and you're asking, like, what are you, Houdini? You're asking a lot of yourself. What, you're going to catch the low to a T? You know what I mean?
No, right.
And then catch some magnificent up move, right? Without feeling a little bit of heat. It's not realistic. Can it happen? Of course it can. You get lucky, but it's not realistic.
Yeah,
you got to be realistic about things. You got to be realistic about things.
I mean, but Yardini, this guy Yardini, Ed Yardini, great.
Yardini, I know Yardini.
Yeah, he came out on Monday and upgraded the market.
Did he?
So yeah, he said he's looking for 5,000, and I was just like,
Oh, I heard him on CNBC. Yeah, 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 yeah. He's been a
and
bull for a while. He's been a bull
forever,
for a while.
right?
He's
Yeah,
been in this game for a long time. I know
right. He
you're.
just takes a ruler and just, and
Yeah,
just
yeah, 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 yeah. But I give credit to a lot of these guys who are more, a lot of these guys aren't trading. They're more, they come in, I'm bullish, I'm up in my target, that sort of thing. If that was my job, right? If that was what I was getting paid to do, Kate, I wouldn't lie to you. I'd always be bullish. I'll be throwing bullish shit all over the place because I'd be more right than wrong. These perma bears, they look like morons instantly, right? If your job is to do what Yardini does, why not be bullish? Be stupid bullish. No,
and then Doom sells, however, right?
that's the thing. It doesn't sell. Doom sells. You're right.
Doom sells.
I see these guys on Twitter, Katie. You could have literally made a fortune fading these guys since 2009. A fortune.
Yes.
And they got 500,000 followers. You see, I don't even follow them. I see them being retweeted by people I follow. I see them come on CNBC sometimes. These guys, but Doom sells you. So everybody wants to look at the car accident. Everybody wants to see a debacle.
Yeah, right. Even Art Cashin said, look, it's a bad bet to bet on the end of the world because it only happens once.
Yeah. And what are you going to do with that money when it's the end of the world? Right? What are you going to do with it?
You ever use an astrologer?
No, I out of curiosity, I followed a couple just to see what the hell they were doing.
Right.
They lost me instantly. They talk about shit. I don't know astrology, but I thought maybe I could follow along and learn just out of curiosity.
And what do you think of Gandalf, that guy Kalanovich or something?
Kalanovich, I know well. I follow Kalanovich, the guy from JP Morgan.
Yeah, right. We call him Gandalf or whatever.
Gandalf? Who's Gandalf?
That's just his nickname is Gandalf.
Yeah, but who is Gandalf? What's Gandalf?
Oh, he came from the Hobbit.
Okay. Yeah, because
he was like the all-powerful seeing guy in the Hobbit.
Yeah, so Kalanovich too is mostly bullish, but he's a smart dude, Kalanovich.
Yep.
I think he's like
And what about Zoltan, the guy who's getting a lot of press?
Zoltan, thank God he underlines key phrases in his post, in his write-ups. Otherwise, I couldn't even make it through it. Yeah, I've lost literally 2 sentences in. I'm being that straight with you.
I'm with you.
As far as people tell me he's brilliant, he's not always right, but he's always correct in the points he's bringing up. But yeah, Pozar, right? Zoltan Pozar.
Right. Yeah.
I know a lot of people who follow him religiously. And there's another guy, Mick Elliott from Nomura.
Oh, Charlie. I love Charlie.
Charlie McElliott. He has his own language.
Yep.
We follow him religiously. All his updates we follow. So
yeah, he's great, especially in the short term.
He's more on my page, Katie, with the positioning stuff.
Yep.
Like that's right up my alley.
Yeah, I love his weekly sort of, or his, when he comes into like a triple witch, and he's here's where it all lies.
Yeah. And he's got some great lines. He's got his own language, he's got some great lines. Oh, by the way, he was the one who said eating lentils was one of his titles. He was the one. I was like, what is he talking about? This
right. So now right? It was a
now I know.
It was a Bloomberg opinion piece.
That's hysterical. I had no clue.
Right. It's like, it's like Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, coming out and saying, just, throw down for a $80,000 test and gas prices don't matter.
These guys got a clear head, I swear to God.
So they're like a little out of touch, but
yep, just a little.
So
what's your plan here? Are you still you're more tactically here, right? You're playing
I mean, I have free put spreads to the downside that I was surprised worked today. I got to go to a wedding and go visit my mom in Colorado, so I'm gone for the next 3 days. But I do think you can nibble if they waste them to the downside. But God, are we just living yesterday's playbook? We've never had a chance to buy the dip, and now we get a chance to buy the dip, so we're buying the dip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We can overthink this till our brain pops, right?
Yeah,
that's how it's that crazy right now out there that you can find a lot to be bearish about, but you can find in this market you can find anything to confirm your bias. Anything. There's so many things out there. You know what I mean?
And it's going to go 200 handles. My thinking is like the bid ask is at least 100 handles. So,
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
in between, like I'd be, as my friend Walter Fair said, he says, we have to wait until we see the body bags to counter trend trade.
It's funny. I've been saying that for a while. Where are they? Where are they?
Yeah.
All these growth stocks, where are all the body bags? You know how many
Right.
people were in those things? How many funds were in those things? Where? I mean, where, I don't understand. I've never seen anything like this. Usually you see the body bags all over the place by now.
Yeah. And you remember, right? Like losers, they don't ever talk about it.
I know.
So it's like,
But these things have been crushed. But honestly, like I mentioned, I'm bullish here. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be buying. I don't think this market, again, I could be 100% wrong, but just my gut feeling and what I'm seeing out of the order flow, I don't see this market turning and running away. I think we're going to be dancing around, chopping around, range bound, volatility, illiquidity, that sort of thing for a bit. You know what I mean? Where they really wear out both sides.
You see Cal says, how about some iron condors?
Yeah, I don't do that stuff. But there, for option strategies, there are a ton of them right now that, this is the market to do it in, right? This is the market to do it in. Just know what you're doing, please, because you're selling naked puts or selling naked calls, and you could get destroyed instantly in this market. So, but if you know what you're doing, I know a lot of people who are writing premium right now and they're getting paid. They're getting paid.
I mean, I think the markets are trading larger than their break evens, right? In other words, the range is greater than the theta.
Yeah. So I just think with everything going on, it's you have to expect that things are going to be really choppy, messy. Even with the VIX where it is and not high, there's going to be volatility in the price action. If you're bullish, like you mentioned, you gotta look to take advantage of them when they waste them.
Yeah.
And if you're bearish, when they rip them, you got to try to find a spot there. I know it's hard. I can't do it, but if that's your game, then that's where you need to, right? You can't be shorting in the hole. Because
the new development is that they'll sit at the highs.
Yeah.
They'll sit there for like 10 minutes. So just if you're right, if you're going to strap on a position at the highs looking for a pullback, I would suggest that you either start small or be wicked patient.
Yeah. That's the other thing, right? Piecing in nice and easy, almost like throwing little tests out there to see what's going on. It's a process. It can wear you out.
I've never seen a trade like this. Have you ever seen a trade like this?
Oh, no. I'm telling you, this is a different, I've been through some crazy times, even just the speed of things.
Right. The speed and then just like they'll hold them in a place that's painful for a particular, player, whether he's long or short.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what McElliott talks about, by the way. He thinks it's never ending, this loop where they run them down straight line, everyone gets bearish, everybody de-risks, spits up exposure, gets short, they leave it down there, they reel in some more, and then they run them over. And then you get this vertical rip, right? That overshoots, overbought signals to the upside. Looks like it's never going to go down again. And then boop, here we go, right?
I mean, they just did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? They ran them, not a downtick on Monday, and then not a bid Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. How about the rip off the lows? 12 straight up days or whatever it was.
Yeah,
right? Apple was up like 12 straight days.
Yes, record. It was like a record move, right?
What the hell changed 12 straight days of rip? I mean, that's crazy.
But I mean, they were oversold at the time when they came out of that hole.
Oh, yeah. They should, to your point, it should have squeezed long before it happened. They left it down there, right?
Yes.
And that's where like bulls like myself were second guessing, like, what's going on here? Why is this thing not squeezing here, right?
In 08, when the S&Ps were trading 660, right? They stayed there for 5 days.
Yeah.
At the lows. I sold the 500 puts and bought this 700 calls for credit.
Wow. Like 08 was insanity.
Right?
08 was utter
Amazon was $60 a share.
Oh my God.
Down from 600.
Yeah, it was, again, that's in a league of its own. What a lot of big houses like Goldman, like what they're doing, every time like they look to back test something, they just automatically take 2008 out because
Out.
like, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
an outlier that it screws up everything. You know, you can't factor, like, of course you got to be concerned about that potential risk of a 2008, but you can't factor it in everything you're doing because it turns everything upside down. It turns everything, like the whole financial system was on the verge of collapse, Katie. I mean, that's not no exaggeration, right?
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
I mean, Warren Buffett lent Goldman Sachs money.
Think about that. Goldman. We're talking about Goldman, right? And even worse, like Merrill back then was Goldman. Merrill was the monster, and they forced that buyout of Merrill, right? They didn't even want to get bought out, but they had to because they were running out of cash.
How about this? AIG was the 8th largest company in the world when tits up, right?
That was it. Once they got wind AIG was ready to go, that's when they threw in the kitchen sink and said, listen, we can't play games anymore. If AIG goes south, we are dead. You know?
I mean, Geithner, of course, bailed out Goldman because he's a Geithner. I mean, was a Goldman guy.
Paulson too was Goldman guy, you know?
Right. But I mean, there's like all the people who are selling nickel puts, right? There was AIG selling the most nickel puts in history.
Yeah. It was crazy time back then. Hopefully we see nothing. I'm scared the last chapter of all this is going to be something to that effect. It's almost inevitable that it is. It's just a matter of when, obviously. But how this has to end ugly at some point when it ends. No,
I don't know. I mean, the kids I see around, the young kids here in the city, smart, right? Like they'll be pissed at the people who got them into the situation.
Oh,
I think the kids are smart, and I think they'll figure a way out of it. But you know, where will prices be as a whole?
Right. How low will they go by that? Yeah.
Right. That's negotiable, right? I think the system is fine. Right. I think the prices may be different.
True. That's a good point. True.
Right. Like definitely the kids are as smarter than we were.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah,
so
at a younger age too.
Right. So it's like game on.
Yeah, they're ready. Right,
because you're going to need it. Game on.
And they're not afraid to torch the place if they're not getting what they want.
Right.
Like we didn't want to be bothered, us. Right. We didn't want to let shit burn down. We'll sit on our couch. Right. Who's playing tonight? But they don't mind going out there and ripping shit apart. So
what do we got on the schedule? We have Easter coming up, right?
Easter. When's that?
That's April 17th is Easter. So Good Friday is a holiday.
That's a holiday.
Right.
There's nothing major on the Fed side now with the minutes gone to the meeting, right?
Right. Until May 2nd, right, is the next one. Right.
So a little bit of a window too of maybe breathing room, no? Who knows?
You know, I mean, there was a story, right, of these Good Friday, all the kids in silver sold nickel calls with 1 day to expiration. And then
they clicked.
And then someone in Hong Kong that night ran them up $1.
Get out.
For real. And then it almost blew out the whole silver ring. So the idea is that if they're going to have any sort of massive shenanigans, it would occur over that Good Friday, Easter weekend.
The weekend. And so the market's closed on Friday, right?
Yeah, it's closed on Friday.
Right.
Right. And it's a huge holiday, right? Like Easter around the world is massive.
Everybody, every country, everywhere. Yeah.
Right. And so that's just don't get lazy with risk into that Thursday night close before Good Friday.
Yeah. Listen, on that point, I think if you're not aware of it by now already, you have to pay attention to your risk now. This is you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is I'll deal with it when the time comes. You have to be aware of your risk right now at all times.
Right. I mean, I think that the lack of liquidity is a function of that, right?
Yeah.
Like the risk managers are just tightening up the noose and saying, look, instead of being 100 up, we're going to be 20 up.
Yeah, exactly. And we're coming from a market. It spoiled us, right? Especially bulls. I should say spoiled bulls. Frustrated a lot of two-way players and bears. But I mean, that's just not realistic, right? And it gets you into bad habits, because you could get away with them. You get away with them, right? You're in over your skis and you're not paying attention to your risk. Yeah, you deal with it a week later, you probably
Yep.
made money, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Time bails you out.
Yeah, you you can't do that now. You can't do that now. You shouldn't do that now. So, but then again, this type of climate brings with it opportunities too.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
you,
yeah. I mean, I just think, right, like we've had to, it's almost, isn't it amazing? It's like a learning opportunity. I mean, we've been through so much, and here's another situation that we've
yeah,
never been in.
yeah, and that's why I tell not to sound corny, but all the younger guys who are newer to the game,
Yeah.
this is the type of stuff you need to pay attention during these times. Not, you know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
where you learn the most, not when markets go straight up and everyone's buying the same stocks and buying them at higher prices again. Any jabroni can figure out a way to make some money during that. This is where you learn, how to preserve your capital, manage your risk. This is where you learn all that stuff. So, as frustrating as it is, you don't get too crazy size wise and learn through the experience. Even if it costs you a little money here and there, learn through the experience. It's worth it. Again, I know it sounds corny coming from an old timer, but
No, it's not. It's not. It's actually a good public service announcement. It's as though, but in a sense, we're all equal now, right? Like
yes,
all of our experience maybe helps us getting out of losers, because
yeah, exactly. Experience does help. You know what I mean? Like again, I talking to you just at the start of this webinar. Okay, I without even knowing how long you're in the game, I sense your experience. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just by the remarks you're making, things you're doing, not doing, what you're seeing. So the experience helps. But a lot of times when you think you can rely on that experience too much, that's when it could cost you, right? You think
yeah.
you've seen it before, and like you said, it's all new. It's all
Oh,
new.
yeah, it's all new. I got my membership in April of 1981 on the exchange.
1981.
Right. I was 20 years old.
Wow.
Right. So,
1981, 97, I got into the game.
right. So I mean, we're equal.
Yeah, 97. Wow, 81.
81.
So you've seen it. You've seen it all. No understatement. You've seen it all, right? From
Well, my
81.
my teachers are dead.
Yeah.
No, I'm not laughing. But when I got started, my teacher was Walter Frank Sr. He was chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. He got me my seat.
Wow.
And so I was 19 and he was 80 something.
But okay, I'm not gassing you up just because you're here, but to your credit, you're still here talking about this game. That's a badge of honor. You know what I mean? I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of people come and go in this game, Katie.
Yeah.
Too many.
Yeah.
Too
I
many.
mean, but it's also, as you know, right? Like my friend George Rycombe, he was a floor governor on the Amex, and he just got to the point where he's like, at a certain point, if you make enough, you just have to cash your chips, right? And then you
Yeah.
have to walk away because they will take them, right? It's like you only have so much
Yeah.
good karma, right? You can't keep pressing your luck.
Well, that's he's 100% right. And if you do hang around, you can't. You got to get rid of that greed factor, right? Where you want to
Yep.
make more and more and more,
Yeah.
because eventually they're going to eat you.
Right. The thrill of the chase is a hollow victory. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
business.
yeah. He's right. He's right. But that's what a lot of people in the room look at me. Yeah. Oh, how are you so disciplined? How they don't realize like what I was doing at the point they're in when they first got into the game. I'm not doing the same things now. You know what I mean? I'm nowhere near
Yeah.
as aggressive.
No. Right. Isn't that amazing how we're not doing the same thing? Like we've changed. I mean, the game has
Oh, yeah.
changed.
Well, plus it hurts a lot more now if you lose it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
At the
we'll
point
never,
we're at now. I
right.
mean,
We'll never get it back if
yeah,
we lose it.
forget it. I can't. You can't. Plus, you get family in the mix. You get all that. So
Yeah.
you can't do those things anymore.
Yeah.
So you
I
have
mean,
to be more disciplined.
right. Nobody does what we do,
No,
essentially, right? Like, you know,
no. We're gamblers. We're professional gamblers. That's what we are.
okay, quickly, right? When you gamble, you place the bet, you don't admit you're wrong. When you
Right.
trade, you place the bet, and then you have another transaction, which is admitting you're wrong. So we're beyond gamblers in that regard, because there's the gambling aspect is just placing the bet,
Okay.
right? Like at the
Yeah.
roulette table, you put your chip down,
Okay.
right? But in trading, you put your chip down, but the guy with the scooper arm, what's that called? The croupier guy with the
Yeah.
he's reaching into your pocket in trading, right? Until you just say enough, I'm done.
Right. Right. So yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that
Right. When you're
so
gambling, you lose it all. Well, options, you're gambling pretty
right,
much.
gambling, but in gambling, you're a passive loser.
Right.
Right. And in trading, you're an active loser. In other words, you
True.
have to actively make the decision to say, I've had enough.
True. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
You can't. Right. You can't. Once you place the bet, you can't pull the plug in gambling. Is what you're
Right.
saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, in gambling, you just place your right. You can, until the ball drops on the roulette wheel, you can pick your chip
Right.
off. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
But once you
Exactly.
place the bet, then then
Right.
you're
So
passive.
is that you're saying that's better or worse?
I'm just saying it's a
It's
more
different.
sophisticated skill to be a trader than a
Oh
gambler.
yeah. 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 Definitely. I didn't know if you were saying it's better or worse. I don't. I really don't know, but I understand what you're saying.
Right. And so people are telling me to move on from that conversation. So we'll move on from that conversation. But I don't think I just take I just disagree with the fact when people say trading is gambling, because there is the understanding that you have to become an active loser, where in gambling you're a passive loser, and that's just the only point.
That's a
And
good
that
point.
works. Yeah, it works at a cocktail party.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right, for real. Um, Thank you everybody for watching. Jay, it's great to hear and see you. I wish we could
Yeah,
talk more often.
I always look forward to coming on here. I'm gonna the first of every month. I'm coming on the first Wednesday of every month. So I enjoy
Cool.
talking shop with you guys. Where's Ranchero? He's on vacation.
Ranch has been busy.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he'll be around.
What is he counting his money?
Just-
Is he counting his money, Mr. Ranchero?
right.
I like to bust his chops.
Chops, right? Like
Yeah.
he was doing, we had an architect guy on. He was doing some podcast with the architect guy who's a trader, friend of Lucci's.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw the one that you guys had
Something
on
the
you trader in Puerto Rico or something, right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. So, but
That was
that's
a
around.
good, webinar.
Take care of yourself. Don't blow up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Nice and easy.
All
Be
right, man.
careful, everybody.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Talk
Have
to
a
you
good
later.
night, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.